Moses Ingram plays Jolene in the Netflix limited series, The Queen's Gambit, I Met Noble, Gold Derby. And I wanted to ask you, Moses, you're one of the few characters in this show that doesn't play chess. Was that a relief or disappointing?
I found it to be quite a relief to not have to spend so much extra time learning moves and games and you know. But I think things like that are fun, when you get a job and the opportunity to learn another skill. But I wasn't mad at this one. I was all right. I was all right.
What like it's such a this show is about the relationships Beth has with different people in her life, and because you're not one of the chess players in this show, Jolene has quite a unique relationship with Beth, and she knew
Mhm.
her from such an early age. What do you think was the most sort of important thing to get right with Jolene?
I think the most important thing to get right with Jolene was to have her be aware of her blackness. I feel like in a space like that where like she's the only one, it can very easily become you know, what it is. But I think that was the most important thing, that she was aware, and she was. So
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's quite powerful how sort of because of her blackness, she understands that her own life is going to look very different to a lot of other girls in the orphanage.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm. What was it like sort of playing that and sort of finding the truth there?
Playing Jolene was fun, sort of taking the words, and we don't get so much about Jolene's life, but it was really important for me to really flesh her out and make her as full as possible. So in the flashes that you do get of Jolene in the series, she feels like a whole person and not like you're missing things. Like she's been gone for a while, but when she comes back, she's standing on her feet. She knows who she is. She has a back. I had a teacher who would always say, it's important to have a back. And she had one. Very, very beautiful, I thought.
Yeah. I think something like really sort of fascinating is we see you at the beginning of the series and we
Hmm.
see you at the end of the series. You're almost like bookends and you're sort of
Yeah.
just missing for the middle of it. What was it like sort of portraying this character where we sort of miss a middle chunk of it, but we see a lot at the beginning and at the end, and we sort of see her in two different points in her life?
Yeah, I think regardless of the size of the character that you're playing in a thing, your responsibility to the person that you're playing is the same every time, to give them the backstory, give them the life, that people don't see, you know.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. How would you describe Jolene and Beth's relationship?
Off the top, easily, I would say that they were like sisters,
Mm,
very much, forced into the same place. Neither of them asked to be there, but they were there and found solace and comfort in one another and were home for one another, which lives throughout the thing. Sometimes when you get sort of like out of who you are, or like very much enveloped in the thing that you're doing or the thing that people know you for, the things that people have attributed to you as you grow older. It's important to find yourself back at the people who knew you when and before everything else, who support you and hold you up. And
mm,
you don't owe them nothing, and they don't owe you nothing, but they feel like home and remind
mm.
you of who you are.
Yeah. And I think what's sort of really cool about the show is we see how the different people she encounters impacts her and sort of helps build who she ends up being. Like Beth, how do you think Jolene influenced her?
I mean, well, in the beginning, with the drugs for sure. That was her first introduction to a way to cope.
Mm,
And I think I think Jolene, obviously, when you know better, you do better. And I think they were both victims of the same environment. And I think Jolene was really just trying to do her best to show this other little girl how to get through it, how to get by in the best way that she knew how at the time,
mm,
you know. But she comes back later,
mm.
obviously, and tries to show her new ways to cope, new ways to get by. Um, yeah, she's a teacher for
Yeah.
sure,
Mm.
too.
And how do you think like Beth sort of impacted or informed Jolene and who she grew up to be?
Well, Jolene, right, never left the orphanage. She
Mm,
spent um every other day that she was there without her family, which was Beth.
mm,
And so she spent her time. She says it in the script. Like I followed, I watched, I paid attention, I was concerned. She loved her from afar.
mm.
So though the relationship wasn't, um, palpable or tangible, we didn't see it. It was very much still alive and inside of her.
Mm. And I've definitely noticed, like, as growing up, that's a fairly sort of common thing. People like you still feel close to that you haven't seen in years. The sort of
Yeah,
like life's taking you to different places, but you sort of
right.
follow sort of from afar, which is easier with social media these days to
What
sort of
That's exactly what it is.
yeah,
You're keeping up with people that you don't get to see every day, and so that's your investment. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes you don't need no more than that.
yeah, yeah. Uh, what was there a particular scene that you found particularly challenging?
I don't think so. I don't know if that's a bad answer, but particularly challenging. There was not a scene that I felt was particularly challenging, but what I will say was challenging was learning how to um, be in a professional setting
Mm,
where it's a lot of money on the line and you got to show up and you need to do what you need to do. You need to do it fast, you know?
yeah.
So I think the biggest challenge in that whole experience was learning on my feet how to be a professional actor and like work with this equipment and these cameras and
Mm,
how to feel the camera behind me, how to hit my marks and um, sort of the technical aspects of the thing. I think the heart of it was all the same, but that definitely was the biggest.
yeah. And what like obviously you and Anya like have so many scenes together. How
Mhm.
did that dynamic work? What was it like working with her, and how did you sort of, I guess, like, I know, bounce off each other or feed each other or like sort of support each other in your scenes?
Right. It just was so easy. She's so talented, obviously, and um, it just felt like I don't know, sometimes you meet people and the chemistry is just automatically there. You don't really have to work so hard for it to come together, and that's just kind of how it was.
Mm, that's nice. Did you have
Yeah.
a did you have a favorite moment shooting or something that's particularly fun to do?
Um, that was a long time ago. I think I'm like, oh yeah, it was a long time ago. But I think maybe my favorite scene was there was a scene that got cut actually
Okay. Oh,
where we're at a lake. We're like lakeside and we're talking about all of the boys. And that scene was really fun to shoot. It didn't make the cut, but it was really fun to shoot.
did it matter? Was that from the end of sort of the series sort of thing, like when they reconnect, or was that early on?
It was at the end of the series. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the life update, the scene.
Yeah, it's like, what
Like,
have you been doing all this time? Tell me about all the boys. And that was really fun. It was just very girly and sort of because it's so heavy throughout. I mean, there are moments of lightness.
mm,
But that was my favorite.
yeah. What do you think? Like, actually, as an actress, were there any sort of performances growing up that sort of inspired you or made you think, oh, I want to do that?
Definitely when I think about when I first started to see what I thought acting was, it was What's Love Got to Do with It. I was too young to see it anyway, but like BET, they play the same 7 to 10 movies. It's like, classics. And I would sit in front of the TV for hours and just be like swept away because that movie is like 3 hours, I think. For years of my life, I thought Angela Bassett was Tina Turner. I thought she was Tina Turner. And Lawrence Fishburne, like and the score of it all, like, like it was just like, it was electric to me. Um, and from then, I just was sort of had this like, probably not when I first saw it did I have that feeling of, if it's not like that, I don't want it. But that was the feeling that developed. But I think that was the first time that I was like, oh, the acting and the music and the story and the way it goes together. And, it just was so beautiful to me.
Mm. Uh, how do you feel like? So now you've done Queen's Gambit. You did a while
Yeah.
ago. You I imagine had a chance to see it. How did like for that like series? You think the acting and the music and the story? How did that all come together?
Beautifully. They did such a great job. Like, I there's the scene of um young Beth that's synced with the movie that they're watching in class. And it like goes from the movie to her busting in and getting the pills, and like it swells and swells and swells and swells, and then it's the crescendo, and then you know all the pills jar is open. It's just another great moment. Yeah,
Yeah,
5 stars.
yeah. And have you had the response to Queen's Gambit? Because you sort of made, and this is the thing with TV, you make it a long time ago, and then it comes out, and then it has its own sort of life post release.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, can you ask me that again?
Yeah, no, it's fine. So how have you found the response to Queen's Gambit?
How
Because
have
it
I
sort of
found the
has a, yeah,
response?
because it sort of has a, any series sort of has a life after it comes out, as people
Mm-hmm.
respond to it and take it in.
Shocking. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought it would be a show. I thought, I had no.
Oh, oh. So Moses, I've lost your sound. Do you want to maybe do you want to mute yourself and turn yourself back on? Can you not hear me either? Yeah. So a second. Get yeah, maybe I'll sort of no, yeah, there, hello.
Oh,
Yeah, Moses.
how is it?
Yeah, I can hear now.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
I don't know what happened. I think it's my AirPods. Sometimes
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't worry. We do a lot of these, and like there's all like sometimes my end, sometimes other people's ends. Like it's tough with all technology.
Hard to know. It's hard to know. It's all
Yeah,
weird, but yeah.
yeah, it's good. You were just saying like you didn't know how people would. You didn't even know what to expect when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was so happy that people loved it and responded so well to it, and yeah, it was just shocking, really shocking.
Yeah. What do you think the show's sort of about when you sort of boil it down? What is sort of what is Queen's Gambit?
Mm. I think it's a story about learning to be with yourself. I think so many of us don't, myself included, know how to do that. Sit with yourself and be in the quiet and noise of your own psyche. And then when you add on, hundreds of thousands of other people's opinions of how good you are or how not good you are, or what you look like and sound like. We weren't, listen, I don't know, sidebar, I don't think we were made to have access to so many people's opinions. I think it's just a setup. But I think that story in particular was, yeah, how to cope,
Mm.
and how to be with yourself and learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're like Jolene or not like Jolene? Do you like connect with her a lot or?
I'm not Jolene.
Yeah.
I wish I had, some more Jolene characteristics. I think she's certainly more front-footed and sturdy in some ways than I am.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think something that really sort of I realized probably watching the end of the series, so this to other people I've talked to as well, is that like it's sort of I realized, and it's so surprised a bit how much of an ensemble show it was because I'm so focused on Beth throughout, and then at the end when you come back and other people come back, you go, oh, there's so many other characters that were such an important role that I connected with while watching. What how do you think the show worked as like an ensemble and like sort of as sort of a sense of like you really felt a sense of community around Beth by the end of the series?
Well, I think that's the second biggest part of the movie, right? So the biggest part is Beth and Beth's life and journey, and the second biggest part is directly affected by that thing. It's her relationship with all of these other people, and I think early on, I think for me, it became apparent that, she's with all of these people, and it seems like her only enemy, her only antagonist with all of these people is just herself. Like, she is her biggest problem. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
She's her biggest problem, and I think,
Mm.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the question.
No, it's good. I like it. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. All the best of luck for the upcoming Emmy Awards for Queen's Gambit. The series has done quite well on the awards circuit so far. And Moses, thanks for talking with us. And people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com to make your own awards predictions.